The desperate Plath, last transmission ambassador, Kirith, floated within her crystalline communication chamber, her translucent form pulsing with desperate energy. The Zephyrian homeworld of Ethros spun peacefully beneath her orbital station, its purple oceans and silver cities gleaming in the light of twin suns. But peace was an illusion now. The harvesters were coming. Her delicate fingers danced across the quantum resonance controls, broadcasting the same message she had sent 1,000 times across the galaxy. The mathematical sequences were perfect, translated into every known language format. Yet still, no response came from the mercenary guilds, the warrior clans, or the military confederations she had contacted. "Please," she whispered into the void of space, "someone must hear us." The Zephyrians had been a peaceful civilization for over 3,000 years. Their technology was magnificent, focused on harmony and creation rather than destruction. Their cities floated on anti-gravity platforms. Their ships moved through space like graceful dancers, and their weapons were designed only to disable, never to kill. They had never needed to be warriors because they had never encountered anything that required warriors' solutions until the harvesters arrived. The mechanical swarms had appeared at the edge of Zephyrian space 6 months ago. At first, they seemed like an anomaly, strange geometric ships that moved in perfect formations. The Zephyrian Science Council had been fascinated, eager to make contact with what they assumed was another technological civilization. The first attack had been devastating precisely because it was so unexpected. The harvester machines didn't negotiate, didn't communicate, didn't show any sign of consciousness at all. They simply arrived, began dismantling everything in their path, and converted the raw materials into more of themselves. Entire moons had been consumed in days, their matter transformed into additional harvester units. Kirith's own brother had been on the research station at Zephyr 7 when the machines came. She had watched through the quantum link as the station was methodically disassembled, its elegant spires and laboratories reduced to raw components. The harvesters worked with terrifying efficiency, and nothing the Zephyrians tried could stop them. Their defensive shields were analyzed and bypassed within hours. Their disruption fields were adapted to and ignored. Even their most advanced gravitational manipulators only slowed the machines momentarily before they evolved countermeasures. Now, as Kirith broadcast her plea across the galaxy once more, she could see the dark specks of harvester scouts approaching the outer planets of her system. They had perhaps weeks before the main swarm arrived to consume Ethros itself. Earth receives the coal captain, Marcus. Steele was finishing his 3rd cup of coffee when the alert chimed through. Deep Space Monitoring Station, Alpha 7. The massive orbital platform hung in the shadow of Luna, its sensors constantly scanning the void for any sign of extraterrestrial intelligence. For 15 years, Marcus had supervised the listening post, and for 15 years, they had heard nothing but cosmic background radiation and the occasional pulsar. Today was different. "Captain, you need to see this," called Lieutenant Sarah Park from the communications array. Her voice carried an excitement that Marcus hadn't heard since she'd first joined his crew. "We're picking up a structured signal from the Zephyr sector. It's definitely artificial, and it's definitely not human." Marcus set down his coffee mug with hands that were steadier than he felt. First contact, the moment humanity had been preparing. For since they'd first looked up at the stars, he walked over to Sarah's station, noting how her usually perfect posture was rigid with tension. "What do we have, Lieutenant?" Sarah's fingers flew over her controls, isolating the signal from the cosmic noise. "It's a repeating pattern, sir. Mathematical sequences followed by what appears to be technical data. The translation computer is working on it now, but Captain... She paused, looking up at him with wide eyes. It's not a greeting, it's a distress call. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Marcus contacted Earth's Stellar Defense Council while his team worked to decode the alien message. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the station's xenobiologist, arrived from the research section with her hair still messy from sleep and her eyes bright with curiosity. The mathematical constants check out, she reported, reviewing the translation on her tablet. Whoever sent this understands physics the same way we do. But Captain, there's something else. The gravitational references in their measurements suggest they evolved on a world with about 60% of Earth's gravity. Their atmospheric pressure readings are half of ours. Marcus frowned, meaning they're from what we would consider a paradise world. Low gravity, thin atmosphere, probably very stable climate. Their entire physiology would be optimized for gentle conditions. Elena looked up from her data. Captain, if their distress call is accurate, they're facing complete extinction from something they call harvesters. Their weapons are designed for crowd control and non-lethal enforcement. They have no military in any sense we would understand. The translated message played through the station's speakers. Kirith's desperate voice rendered in synthetic English by the translation computers. As the crew listened to the alien ambassador's plea for help, for warriors, for anyone who could fight the mechanical swarms, Marcus felt something stir in his chest. It was the same feeling he'd had years ago when he'd enlisted in the Colonial Defense Force. The need to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Sir, Sarah said quietly, we're also picking up analysis of their defensive capabilities. Their most powerful weapons operate on principles we'd classify as less lethal. Even their space combat systems are designed to disable rather than destroy. Marcus thought about Earth, about the world that had forged humanity through ice ages and plagues, through predators and natural disasters. He thought about the Mars colony incident, when human ingenuity and determination had saved 3,000 colonists from certain death in the aftermath of the terraforming disaster. Humanity had learned to be warriors not because they loved violence, but because their world had demanded it. The Council decides. The emergency session of Earth's Stellar Defense Council convened within 6 hours of receiving the alien distress call. Admiral Rebecca Torres stood before the holographic displays showing the Zephyr sector, her weathered face reflecting decades of military service. Around the circular chamber, representatives from every major Earth government debated humanity's first contact with alien intelligence. The strategic implications are enormous, declared General Chen from the Asian Continental Alliance. We're talking about revealing our existence to the galaxy, potentially making enemies we know nothing about. We're also talking about letting an entire civilization die, countered Dr. Vasquez, who had been brought in to consult on the aliens' capabilities. The Zephyrians had been broadcasting their distress call for months. No one else in the galaxy has responded. If we don't help them, they'll be extinct within weeks. Admiral Torres activated the tactical display, showing the fleet positions throughout the solar system. If we respond with force. Half measures won't work against an enemy that's already defeated an advanced spacefaring civilization. I'm recommending we deploy the entire Third Fleet. The chamber erupted in discussion. The Third Fleet was Earth's newest and most powerful naval formation. 12 heavy cruisers and their support vessels equipped with experimental quantum fold drives and gravitational weapons. It represented the cutting edge of human military technology, and sending it on humanity's first interstellar military mission was an enormous risk. "Admiral," asked Director Singh from the European Federation, "what makes you think we can succeed where the aliens failed?" Torres smiled grimly. "Because we're not the aliens, Director. We evolved on a death world. Our entire history is about surviving things that should have killed us and thriving in conditions that would destroy most life forms. Describe weapons designed to gently disable their enemies. Our weapons are designed to completely eliminate threats to human survival." Marcus, who had been observing the debate from the gallery, stood when Admiral Torres called on him. "The aliens are asking for mercenaries or warriors," he said. "They expect individual ships, maybe small battle groups. They have no concept of a species that would mobilize an entire fleet to protect strangers." Dr. Vasquez added her analysis to the record. "Based on their physiological data, these Zephyrians are adapted for low-stress environments. Their reaction times, their physical strength, their stress responses, all of it is optimized for their gentle world. The machines they're fighting have probably never encountered resistance from a species like us." The debate continued for hours, but Marcus could see the decision forming in the council members' faces. Earth had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe, preparing for the day when they would meet other intelligent life. Now that day had come, and it came with a choice that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. The vote was closer than Marcus had expected, but it was decisive. Earth would respond to the Zephyrian distress call with the full might of the Third Fleet. Within 72 hours, Admiral Torres would lead 12 heavy cruisers and over 3,000 personnel on humanity's first interstellar rescue mission. As the council session ended and the representatives began coordinating the massive logistical effort required to launch the fleet, Marcus received a personal message from Admiral Torres. "Captain Steele, report to Earth Command immediately. You're being transferred to the UES Thunderstrike as Senior Communications Officer. You discovered their signal, so you get to help us answer it." Marcus looked out at the stars visible through the station's observation windows. Somewhere out there, Ambassador Kirith was still broadcasting her desperate plea into the void, unaware that Earth's children were coming. The Zephyrians had asked for warriors. They were about to discover what happened when an entire civilization of survivors decided to answer the call. Preparing for war, the UES Thunderstrike was a masterpiece of human engineering. A heavy cruiser designed to project power across the vast distances of space. At 400 meters long and mounting the most advanced weapons Earth had ever built. She was built for one purpose: to ensure that humanity's enemies never got a second chance to threaten human worlds. Marcus stood on the ship's bridge, watching as the rest of Third Fleet formed up around them. The Thunderstrike's captain, Elena Rodriguez, was a veteran of the colonial defense conflicts who had earned her reputation during the ice pirate raids in the outer system. Her crew moved with the practiced efficiency of professionals who had trained together for years. "Captain Rodriguez," Marcus reported, "we're receiving updated intelligence from the Zephyrian signals. The Harvester advance forces have reached their outer planets. We have perhaps 2 weeks before they begin their final assault on the homeworld." Rodriguez nodded, studying the tactical display that showed their planned route to the Zephyr system. "Understood, Commander Steele. Admiral Torres wants to arrive before the main swarm reaches the aliens' homeworld. We'll be using the quantum fold drives at maximum efficiency." The quantum fold technology was still experimental, a breakthrough that allowed ships to compress space-time and travel vast distances in hours rather than years. The power requirements were enormous, and the stress on both ship and crew was considerable. But it would allow Third Fleet to reach the Zephyr system in time to make a difference. Dr. Vasquez joined them on the bridge, carrying a tablet full of analysis data. "Captain, I've been studying the harvester machines based on the alien sensor data. They appear to be self-replicating with some kind of artificial intelligence, but they're also predictable. They follow algorithmic patterns, optimizing for efficiency rather than tactics." "Meaning?" Rodriguez asked. "Meaning they've never had to adapt to an enemy that fights unpredictably. The Zephyrians tried to counter them with superior technology and failed. But human tactics have always emphasized adaptability and aggression over pure technological advantage." Marcus thought about Earth's military history, about battles won through determination and improvisation rather than superior equipment. Humanity had learned to fight dirty because their survival had depended on it. The harvesters might be about to discover why that mattered. Admiral Torres's voice crackled through the fleet communication system as the ships prepared for their first quantum fold jump. "All vessels, this is Admiral Torres. We're about to embark on humanity's first interstellar military mission. The aliens we're going to help have never seen warriors like us. They've asked for mercenaries and gotten a fleet. They've asked for fighters and gotten the children of a world that spent millions of years trying to kill us. Show them what Earth's children can do." As the quantum fold drives powered up and space began to bend around Third Fleet, Marcus felt the same stirring in his chest that had driven him to answer the alien distress call in the first place. Somewhere ahead of them, Ambassador Kirith was still broadcasting her desperate plea, still hoping that someone in the galaxy would hear her and care enough to help. She was about to discover that when humans heard a cry for help, they didn't send mercenaries. They sent everything. When Earth's children answer the call arrival in Heltha, Third Fleet emerged from quantum fold space to find the Zephyr system burning, where the alien transmissions had described peaceful worlds of floating cities and crystalline spires. Admiral Torres saw only destruction. 3 planets showed the characteristic scars of harvester consumption, vast geometric patterns carved into their surfaces, where the machines had systematically stripped away everything useful. "My God," whispered Captain Rodriguez as the sensor data scrolled across her screens. "They've consumed entire moons." Admiral Torres stood on the Thunderstrike's bridge, watching the tactical display update with hostile contacts. Thousands of harvester units moved through the system in perfect formations, their dark hulls absorbing light like wounds in space. They paid no attention to the human fleet's arrival, continuing their methodical work of disassembly and construction. "Admiral," reported Commander Park from the communications station, "we're receiving a transmission from Ethros. It's the same ambassador who sent the original distress call." Kirith's image appeared on the main screen, her translucent form flickering with what the translation computers identified as extreme agitation. Behind her, Marcus could see other Zephyrians moving frantically through what appeared to be an emergency command center. "Unknown vessels," she transmitted. "Please identify yourselves. Are you the mercenary forces we requested? We can offer payment in technological data or rare materials." Admiral Torres stepped forward, and Marcus saw something shift in the alien ambassador's posture as she took in the human commander's appearance. Where Kirith was delicate and ethereal, Torres was solid and intimidating, a product of Earth's higher gravity and harsher conditions. "Ambassador Kirath, I am Admiral Rebecca Torres of the Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call and have come to provide assistance. Earth Kirith's form pulsed with confusion. I do not recognize this designation in our galactic databases. How many ships have you brought? 12 heavy cruisers and support vessels, Torres replied. Our entire third fleet. The silence that followed was profound. Marcus watched as Kirith seemed to process the information, her form cycling through colors that the translation computer couldn't interpret. You brought an entire fleet, she said finally, for strangers you have never met. Yes, Torres said simply. Now tell me about these harvesters. First contact with reality, the briefing that followed, revealed the true scope of the disaster facing. The harvester swarms had consumed 7 star systems over the past 5 years, each conquest making them stronger and more numerous. Their technology was adaptive, learning from each encounter and becoming more efficient. We attempted to communicate with them, Kirith explained, her image transmitted to the entire fleet. We offered to share resources, to find mutually beneficial solutions. They do not respond to any form of contact. They simply consume everything in their path. Dr. Vasquez, observing from the Thunderstrike's science station, raised her hand. Ambassador, your weapons, systems. Can you describe their capabilities? Our defensive systems are designed to disable attacking vessels while minimizing harm to their crews. Kirith replied. We can disrupt their power systems, create gravitational fields to immobilize them, or generate energy nets to contain them. Our people have never needed to build weapons designed to destroy. Captain Rodriguez exchanged glances with Admiral Torres. The Zephyrians had brought sophisticated technology to a fight that required primitive brutality. They had built tools for a civilized galaxy and encountered something that operated outside any concept of civilization. Admiral, interrupted Commander Park, we're detecting harvester movement toward our position. Looks like 3 squadrons breaking off from the main swarm. Torres studied the tactical display as the enemy units changed course to intercept Third Fleet. The harvester ships were geometric and alien, following mathematical patterns that hurt to look at directly. They moved with perfect coordination, like parts of a vast machine rather than individual vessels. They're adapting to our presence, observed Dr. Vasquez. Look at their formation changes. They're trying to analyze us the same way they analyzed. The Zephyrians good, said Torres grimly. Captain Rodriguez signaled the fleet. We're going to give them something new to analyze. Prepare for combat. The Thunderstrike strikes back. The battle began as the harvester squadrons reached weapons range. Their first attacks were precise and efficient. Energy beams designed to disable rather than destroy, targeting what they calculated to be critical systems. The weapons that had overwhelmed Zephyrian defenses struck the human ships and accomplished almost nothing. Minimal damage to forward armor, reported the Thunderstrike's tactical officer. Their targeting algorithms seem optimized for the alien ship designs. Admiral Torres smiled. They've never fought humans before. Return fire, full spread. The Thunderstrike's main guns opened fire, and the effect was devastating. Where the harvesters had expected sophisticated energy weapons or exotic physics, they met simple kinetic projectiles accelerated to enormous speeds. The first harvester vessel disintegrated as tungsten rounds punched through its hull like paper. Across the fleet, human ships engaged with weapons the harvesters couldn't comprehend. Nuclear missiles that created raw destruction rather than precise. Disabling particle beams that carved through armor instead of disrupting systems. Railguns that treated enemy vessels as targets to be eliminated rather than problems to be solved. "They're not adapting," called Commander Park excitedly. "Look at their response patterns. They keep trying to analyze and counter weapons that are designed to be simple and brutal." The Harvester squadrons broke apart under the human assault, their perfect formations shattered by tactics they had never encountered. For the first time in their expansion across the galaxy, the machines faced opponents who fought to kill rather than to control. But Marcus noticed something troubling in the tactical data. "Admiral, they're transmitting, sending data back to the main swarm." "Let them," Torres replied. "Every piece of data they send tells the main force that their assumptions about galactic warfare are wrong." Planetside Hell Captain James Wright led the first human ground assault in galactic history. His Marines landing on the mining world of Zephyr 4 in drop pods that screamed through the thin atmosphere like falling meteors. The planet's surface was a nightmare of geometric excavation. Vast mining operations that the Harvesters had been conducting for weeks. Wright's powered armor registered the low gravity and adjusted automatically, servos whining as they compensated for the reduced weight. Around him, his Marines moved with inhuman speed and strength, their Earth-evolved muscles giving them tremendous advantages in the alien environment. Contact called Sergeant Maria Santos as the first Harvester ground units appeared. The machines moved like mechanical spiders, their multiple limbs equipped with mining tools that doubled as weapons. They approached the human force with the same methodical precision they brought to everything else. The Harvester units had adapted their tactics based on encounters with Zephyrian ground forces. They expected opponents who would try to disable them carefully, who would seek to minimize destruction and preserve the machines for study. Instead, they met human Marines with explosives and high-powered rifles. Wright's first grenade turned 3 Harvester units into scrap metal. "They're not armored for explosive attacks," he reported over the comm. "Whoever built these things never anticipated weapons designed purely for destruction." The battle raged across the mining complex as more human forces landed. Marine Lieutenant Sophia Chen, an engineer by training, studied the captured Harvester equipment with fascination. "Captain, look at this mining apparatus. It's incredibly sophisticated, but it's also modular. I think I can modify it within hours." Chen had jury-rigged captured Harvester mining equipment with human power cells and targeting systems. The improvised weapons cut through Harvester units like they were made of paper, turning the machine's own technology against them. "The aliens are right," Chen reported to Captain Wright. "These machines are adaptive, but they adapt to sophisticated threats. They don't know how to handle primitive solutions applied with advanced engineering." The Zephyrian revelation. Kirith watched the human assault with growing amazement and horror. The beings she had contacted, expecting to hire as mercenaries, fought with a brutality that was completely alien to Zephyrian understanding. Yet they fought not for payment or conquest, but apparently for the simple reason that she had asked for help. "How is this possible?" she asked Dr. Vasquez during a communication session. "Your people show more physical strength than any species in our databases. Your reaction times, your endurance, your willingness to engage in direct combat, all of it exceeds theoretical maxims." Dr. Vasquez smiled sadly. "Ambassador, you evolved on a paradise world. Your people developed in safety and abundance. We evolved on what we call a death world. For millions of years, Earth threw everything it could at us: ice ages, volcanic eruptions, predators, diseases, natural disasters. Only the strong and clever survived. But your weapons," Kirith continued, "they are designed only to destroy, never to preserve or capture. Because sometimes, Ambassador, preservation isn't possible. Sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to completely eliminate what threatens it. The conversation was interrupted by alerts from the orbital battle. The main harvester swarm was approaching Ethros, and their numbers were staggering. Millions of units moving in perfect coordination, a mechanical tide that had consumed entire civilizations. Admiral Torres, Kirith, transmitted to the human fleet, "You must retreat. Your ships are powerful, but they cannot face the full swarm. We are grateful for your assistance, but we will not see your people destroyed for our sake." Torres's response was immediate. "Ambassador, with respect, you don't understand how humans operate. We didn't come here to try and fail. We came here to win." The final gambit as the Harvester main swarm approached Ethros, Admiral Torres revealed the true extent of human tactical thinking. Third Fleet didn't meet the enemy head-on in the traditional battle the Harvesters expected. Instead, they scattered throughout the system, using hit-and-run tactics that forced the machines to divide their attention. "They're trying to adapt to our individual ships," Torres explained to her captains, "but they can't adapt to chaos. Every time they develop a counter to one of our tactics, we change tactics entirely." Captain Rodriguez led a squadron of destroyers in a kamikaze run against a Harvester construction facility, using their ship's quantum fold drives as improvised bombs. The explosion vaporized half the enemy fleet and left the survivors struggling to process what had happened. Meanwhile, human ground forces had turned Zephyr 4 into a fortress, using captured Harvester technology and human engineering to create weapons the machines couldn't counter. Captain Wright's Marines fought with the desperate creativity of a species that had learned to thrive under impossible odds. But it was engineer Sophia Chen who made the breakthrough that changed everything. Working with captured Harvester communication equipment, she discovered that the machines operated on a distributed intelligence network. They weren't individual units, but parts of a vast artificial mind. "Admiral," she reported, "if we can disrupt their communication network, the entire swarm will lose coordination. But we'd need to get close to their command node." Torres studied the tactical display, noting the massive Harvester vessel at the center of the swarm. It was the size of a moon, protected by thousands of smaller units. A frontal assault would be suicide. "Captain Rodriguez," she said quietly, "prepare the Thunderstrike for ramming speed." The final battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. While Third Fleet engaged the Harvester swarm in running battles throughout the system, the Thunderstrike punched through their defenses, using nothing but speed, armor, and human determination. Torres drove her ship straight into the heart of the enemy formation, her crew manning their stations even as the hull buckled under impossible stresses. "For Earth," Torres whispered as the Thunderstrike's quantum fold drive overloaded. "And for everyone who can't fight back." The explosion that followed could be seen from 3 star systems away. The Harvester command node and half their fleet simply ceased to exist, and the surviving machines found themselves cut off from their collective intelligence. For the first time in their existence, they experienced something approaching panic. The battle was won, but at a cost. The Thunderstrike was gone, along with Admiral Torres and her crew. The remaining human ships regrouped around Ethros, where millions of Zephyrians watched in amazement as the Harvester swarm began its first retreat in galactic history, a new alliance in the aftermath of the battle. Ambassador Kirith stood in her communication chamber, looking out at the human ships that orbited her world. The being she had contacted, hoping to hire a few mercenaries, had sent an entire fleet, had sacrificed their own leaders to save a civilization they had never met. "Captain Rodriguez," she transmitted to the surviving human commander, "your people have done the impossible. The harvesters are retreating beyond our borders for the first time in recorded history. How do we repay such a debt?" Rodriguez's image appeared on her screen. The human officer's face, marked by exhaustion and grief for her fallen commander. "Ambassador, we didn't come here for payment. We came because you asked for help, and humans don't leave people in need. But surely there must be something," Kirith insisted. "Your technology, your knowledge, your people's safety. We have vast databases, advanced manufacturing, anything you require." "Actually," Rodriguez said thoughtfully, "there is something. We'd like to learn about the galaxy we've just entered. And we think other civilizations might benefit from knowing that there are people out here willing to fight for them." As the human and Zephyrian representatives began planning their new alliance, neither civilization realized they were witnessing the birth of something unprecedented in galactic history. For the first time, a species had answered a distress call not for profit or politics, but simply because it was the right thing to do. The harvesters, regrouping at the edge of known space, processed the data from their defeat with mechanical precision. They had encountered something their algorithms couldn't account for, a species that fought not just to survive, but to protect others. The implications would require extensive analysis. But in the depths of space, other distress calls were already reaching Earth's listening posts. Word was spreading that somewhere in the galaxy, there was a civilization that answered when others called for help, and humanity, having taken its first step onto the galactic stage, was already preparing to answer the next call. Asterisk.